Good evening and welcome. My name is Dr. James Smart, the director of this ensemble, and the first piece that you heard, written by Ryan George, Firefly, the idea was born one night when he was watching his 4-year-old become mesmerized by a firefly that had wandered into the front yard. When he asked her what she thought of the firefly, she looked at him with a puzzled look and said in a corrective tone, "Daddy, that's not a firefly, that's Tinkerbell, and she's come to take me on an adventure." So I had to read this because I have 2 daughters of my own. So it's just a wonderful, a little imaginative piece that could very well belong in a movie score. We're going to do a complete 180 into another piece. You can kind of guess, you can find the thread through all the themes of the concert of Winged Messengers. The leaves are falling. My son actually thinks that the maple trees outside with the little helicopters that fall have wings. So you can, the leaves are falling definitely applies to the theme here. But Warren Benson taught at Eastman for a long time, and a lot of his pieces are very, very gut-wrenching and serious in nature, and this is no exception. The work is inspired by one of Rilke's poems. And I'll just read the text. "The leaves are falling, falling as if from afar, as through far gardens withered in the skies. They are falling with denying gestures. And in the nights the heavy earth is falling, from all the stars down into loneliness. We are all falling, this hand falls, and look at the others. It is in them all. And yet there is one who holds this falling with infinite gentleness in his hands." So at the very end there is this feeling of resolution, of perhaps a salvation with regards to the pain that is in the prior portion of the poem. And I think the way that Warren Benson does this, it's a piece unlike you've ever heard, but the quarter note in this piece is 32 beats per minute, which is extraordinarily slow. So it's a glacial movement and a glacial development through this piece. And in the middle of it, you actually hear a Bach chorale, and the Bach chorale is actually twisted, and it's in a completely different meter than what the rest of the piece is. And as that Bach chorale becomes more present, which you'll recognize, "It's a Mighty Fortress is Our God," we all know that one, but as it becomes more incorporated into the music, we all of a sudden get the Bach chorale aligning with the rest of the piece in a very dramatic ending. This is Warren Benson's "The Leaves Are Falling." tell my students that some of the hardest music to play is actually the slowest music, and it's absolutely correct. So they did a wonderful job on that exceptionally difficult piece. At this time, I would like to welcome to the stage the main event for tonight. I'll just say that. It's been an absolute pleasure to work with these two fine gentlemen. It's Dr. Craig Naylor, who is our guest composer, and we also have Dr. Eric Green, our resident bird call expert and a professor of biological sciences. Please welcome them with your applause.
Good evening, and thanks for those two wonderful pieces. It's a real honor for me to be asked to help introduce this next piece of music for a variety of reasons. First of all, we're going to hear a really beautiful and fantastic and complex symphony composed by Dr. Craig Naylor, who we're lucky to have him and his wife Candy here tonight. And we actually arrived on the stage from sort of interesting cross paths meeting here in the middle. Craig started off as a wildlife biologist, but was a fine jazz musician and ended up going the music route and ending up as a musician and composer. I started off as a musician, but ended up going over to the dark side in biology. But I've been able to combine my passions for music and acoustics and biology. And one of the things that I study is how animals use sound to communicate a lot of information with each other. So, I'm also honored that part of this symphony that we're going to hear was inspired by research done here at the University of Montana by a student of mine, Chris Templeton, who's in Scotland now, who couldn't be here, and me and Kate Davis, who you'll meet in a minute, and two special guests who you'll also make their acquaintance of, who helped with this research. So part of what you're going to hear was inspired by research done here at the University of Montana. So this is going to be a really neat mixture of arts and sciences. So what we're going to do is a short little bit of a tag team wrestling sort of introduction to give you an overview of some of the interesting biology and acoustics and communication of black-capped chickadees, and also the musical aspects of this symphony. It's got 4 movements, and we'll talk about.
Part of the tag team. I was living in Virginia. I had a professorship back there, and I was really missing Montana. My wife and I were missing Montana, and to me, Montana is really epitomized in the vocalizations of the chickadee. And I thought, I'll write a symphony using the phoebe and the chickadee, thinking those are the only 2 vocalizations. Was I wrong? I had to spend a year learning the language, studying the literature, and I went to Wisconsin and studied with one of the pioneers of avian research, Penny Ficken, and who's really been my mentor in all of this, and I really wanted to acknowledge her, but we're taking a step that took me a year and a half to get here. I'm going to turn it back to you.
And before we get into the music, I'd like to say that also there's been plenty of composers over the last many hundreds of years who have used bird calls and animal sounds in their music. But this is really arguably the first piece of music that has used bird vocalizations and has been really true to the very complex biology and behavior of what's going on. So what we're going to do is give you a little overview of the very complex communication system that you will hear in this symphony. All right, so black-capped chickadees are amazing creatures. They have an extremely broad geographic range, basically from the Mason-Dixon line up to the Arctic Circle, coast to coast. I'm holding here 2 nickels. So this is what a black-capped chickadee weighs, 10 cents. They can live in 40 below weather just fine. They have to eat about their body weight to do that. But so what we're talking about is 2 nickels worth of weight. They're year-round residents for the most part, do not migrate. They're highly social, and this accounts for part of their very complex communication systems. So now they're just starting to get into big flocks of up to 12 or more. They have extremely complex vocal communication systems, which we're really just starting to understand. They have over 20 different kinds of vocalizations that they use to convey tons of different information to each other. And Dr. Naylor, as he said, spent about 1.5 years studying this. I feel a little uncomfortable telling, because I think he knows the literature better than I do right now. All right, so you're going to hear a wide variety of sounds in this Chickadee Symphony, and I'm going to be showing you a whole bunch of spectrograms. These are graphical representations of sounds, and you can read them much the way you read musical notation. So here's a picture of the chickadee-dee-dee call, from which chickadees get their name. And on the vertical axis is pitch, or frequency, or the pitch, and along the y-axis is time. So this is just like musical notation. Now to help you calibrate, so this is a picture of a chickadee vocalization. To help you calibrate these sounds, we're going to have Danica play a B flat on the contrabass clarinet, down at a very low 29 vibrations a second. So that's way down there. And now we're going to have Sari play a B flat 7 octaves higher at 3,729 vibrations a second. All right, so this gives you a little calibration. There's 7 octaves. That's about the range of the piano, from the lowest key almost to the highest key. And you can see that chickadees are making sounds way higher than the piccolo. Here's what this chickadee vocalization sounds like. Now, that goes by very quickly, so I'm going to slow it down to 1/3 of its speed so you can follow the acoustic structure a little better. Okay, you're not going to hear that in the symphony. All right, so the first movement starts with the dawn chorus. The dawn chorus is an amazing time in the animal world. It's when the world is waking up and diurnal creatures are starting to do their stuff. And so this first movement is wonderfully evocative of a world waking up, and things get moving very quickly. And just to give you a sense, this is the first few measures of movement 1 of the dawn chorus. So you could hear the chickadee calls in there. Very quickly in this dawn chorus movement, you will start to hear the Phoebe vocalizations that Dr. Naylor missed so much about Montana. Now, the Phoebe vocalizations, we have a technical ornithological term for this. These are very horny guys, okay? Here is what a Phoebe sounds like. This is a real chickadee. So these, how many people have heard these around here? Good, good. Come on, you guys. Oh, they're practicing too hard. You gotta let them out more, jeez. Okay, so these are only given by the males, and it's a territorial animating song. And here, I love the notations in Dr. Naylor's score. Bar 67, the mating call begins.
This is a learned vocalization. One instrument hasn't quite got it down, and at the end of the song, you still hear them singing their Phoebe because they did not get lucky that morning.
And that's the poor oboe. You didn't get lucky, so don't blame me. You can talk to him afterwards. But you'll hear the flutes and the clarinets who are singing the Phoebe early on. They drop out. That meant they got lucky. The variable Cs are given just before mating. And so again, with a lot of musical scores, the composers give notations, pianissimo, fortissimo. I think this might be the only score in the universe which is played copulatissimo. All right, so you'll be hearing all of these elements in this dawn chorus. Movement 2 is called This Is Mine, and chickadees live in large groups, highly social. They cooperate with each other a lot, but they also compete and fight a lot. And so this movement is really about territorial behavior and aggression. And the main call used by chickadees in aggressive interactions is called the gargle call. It's an extremely fast and extremely complex call. It can be made up of about 60 or so different elements that they put together in different ways. Here's a gargle call. Here it is in real speed, so this is very fast. And here it is slowed down to about a third of its real speed, so you can follow the spectrogram. All right, and here's Dr. Naylor's representation, musical representation of this. All right, these are extremely variable calls, so here's another one of many, many, many that you'll be hearing in this movement. Here it is in real speed. Here it is slowed down. And here's the musical representation. So you'll be hearing many different types of gargles in this. Chickadees also use wing fluttering and displays, and so you'll be hearing wing rustling. Movement 3, danger. So chickadees are like potato chips. Who can eat just one, right? And it turns out that chickadees are phenomenally good at detecting predators, giving alarm calls that contain a lot of information about the specific kind of predator and the specific kind of danger. So I'm really pleased to have joining us up on stage Kate Davis, the Executive Director of Raptors of the Rockies, who was a co-author on the original paper that helped stimulate this, and she's bringing, we've got a special guest appearance by Jillian.
Yes, it is a real owl. This is Jillian, and great horned owls reign supreme. This is the ultimate avian predator. They eat anything from invertebrates to birds to mammals up to the size of a skunk. They live anywhere they can find a place to roost, including downtown Missoula, and they breed in the widest array of any raptor in the U.S. So these are very, very, very common. Why don't we see them? They're nocturnal. Great horned owl. These are the ear tufts. They can be up or they can be down. And that just breaks up their silhouette during the day. So what do they do during the day? They lounge in a tree. They're practically invisible with that cryptic coloration. And then at night, they become every sleeping bird's nightmare, if birds dream, which I'm not sure. But this is the ultimate predator. Now, can they catch a chickadee?
Well, so this is the interesting thing. Jillian, who participated in the original research, She looks ferocious, but if you think about it, these things really can't catch chickadees. If a chickadee flits, these are like a 747, they miss it.
Yeah.
So chickadees do give alarm calls to great horned owls, but it's more like, whatever. It's a predator, but they keep on feeding generally. So this research was originally published in Science magazine that stimulated this movement. Here's Jillian on the left. This is right outside Kate's house down near Florence. And another little owl that this was .com. .com sadly died a few years ago. You'll meet his replacement. This is work that was done by, along with Kate and Jillian and me, Chris Templeton. You can see that this research was fueled by Big Dipper ice cream. And here's how we did this research. We worked in aviaries out at Fort Missoula, and we had captive flocks of chickadees we kept for a while and then let them go after the research. And we were able to present them with a whole variety of different raptors. And there's Chris recording with a shotgun microphone the vocalizations of these birds. Now, what we found was really remarkable. It turns out, so this graph shows, this is right out of this paper, on the vertical axis is the number of D notes, so chickadee, dee, 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 and along the x-axis is basically a measure of the size of the predator, from very small wingspan on the left, so pygmy owl is way down on the left there, and great horned owl is way on the right. And so basically chickadees are telling each other about the threat level, code orange at the airport or whatever, by the number of Ds. So if you are out there and you hear a chickadee going, chickadee dee 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 dee, look around, you will probably see
The fiercest predator known to man. Come on, everybody. Oh, every program, 1,300 plus, everyone goes, oh. But then we say the northern pygmy owl is perhaps the most deadly predator out there, gram for gram or pound for pound, because these birds are capable of catching birds and mammals 2 times their size. So if this was a 4-foot-tall pygmy owl, I tell the kids, be afraid if you're a 2nd grade student, because they will eat you. This one is named iPod. And iPod is a great, I know someone wants to ask this question, is that how big they are? Yeah, that's how big they are. And we all think of small owls as being very cute, but these are absolutely the chickadee's deadliest enemy. They're diurnal daytime birds that we'll see a lot of here in the winter in Missoula. They migrate down into the valleys, and you can get very close to them, not because they're tame, but because they're fearless.
So during the winter, northern pygmy owls eat about 90% of their diet are chickadees. So this is why chickadees are really worried about pygmy owls. So it turns out for chickadees, D is for danger. Here is the great horned owl vocalization. And here's the musical representation. So the danger movement starts with the great horned owl. Here's what chickadees say in response to great horned owls. You can see there's not many Ds. It's like, whatever. Here's a pygmy owl, recorded out at Maclay Flat.
Because it's so slow, this is a particular sex of the pygmy owl. And I forget if it's the male or the female, but the other one has a much faster repetitive call. So you hear both of them here, the fast and the slow.
And in the score, it says, "Enter the pygmy owl." And when that happens, here's what chickadees say. And you will hear this, you'll hear the pygmy owl tooting, and all hell breaks loose. How great is that? All right, so here's what happened when chickadees give the alarm. This is a mosaic from 1616 showing an intense mobbing call in response to alarm calls given by birds like chickadees. When the danger is extreme, there's a very interesting vocalization called the high Z, and it is basically somebody's about to get nailed, and all the birds freeze. All right, the last movement is called Chickadee Dance, and it's a really jazzy compilation. It's wrapping up a lot of the elements that you've heard in the first three movements. And
I just wanted to have fun. So chickadee becomes chickadee, 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 dee, dee. And then you hear the gargle and you hear Phoebe. It's kind of like I envisioned these little guys with their black top hat and their black vest and their gray tuxedo, and I was thinking about Cab Calloway on steroids. And so that's movement 4. I just want to thank Eric for taking the time to put this beautiful presentation together. Chickadee Symphony.
While we're getting set up for the next piece, I want to tell you a little bit about it. I have to find my cheat sheet. You know what? I don't think I need it. Ingram Marshall is, That's great. Fog Tropes was composed in San Francisco in 1981. John Adams, who's pretty much like, if there's a superstar composer that you would think of, John Adams is it right now. And he also conducts quite a bit, but he was in charge of a new music series in San Francisco. And he asked Ingrid Marshall to write a piece for this, the San Francisco Symphony series, New and Unusual Music. And this piece, Fog Tropes, that came of this has actually been played around the world in spaces ranging from a concert hall to churches, state capitol domes, and even a slow-moving river barge. And most recently, Fog Tropes, this music that you're about to hear, was used in a Hollywood suspense film with Leonardo DiCaprio called Shutter Island. So Ingram Marshall actually did a good amount of the original music for that film. The recorded sound, how this fits, you might think Fog Tropes, what does that have to do with winged anything? But all of the sampled sounds that you're going to hear, you can see Ben over here, one of our composition students, has some recorded sound that he's going to be playing back for us while 6 brass musicians play. The recorded sound is all taken from the San Francisco Bay Area with lots of foghorns and seabirds. And then there's also some Balinese bamboo flute thrown in there, and then some falsetto voicings as well. So it's an incredibly eerie atmosphere, and it's a very unique piece in that you'll see me conducting sometimes, but all the divisions in the piece are actually laid out by seconds. So 30-second intervals through the entire 10-minute piece. And I just give different hand cues and different things happen. At one point, I might cue and give a very strict tempo to the horns, but then I just throw a cue out here toward the trumpets, and they get to play whenever they want. So it's kind of liberating to them in a way. They don't have to adhere to the tyrannical conductor's demands. I can just throw some cue this way, and they're going to do it. So it's a wonderful, eerie atmosphere that creates this sense of thick fog. And when Ingram Marshall was asked what it meant to him, he said, well, it obviously reminds people of the San Francisco Bay Area, but this piece has more to do with memories for me, and just trying to recall like the floating memories, just a little bit timelessness of that. So here is Ingram Marshall's Fog Tropes. You're getting a good dose of a lot of different kinds of music, and a lot of it is new. You look at the last piece, Hindemith Symphony in B-flat, first movement. You're right, it has absolutely nothing to do with anything winged. This is a semester-long project. It's a piece that I think they need to be exposed to, and it's the cornerstone, really. If you were to, there was a poll actually taken in 1979 as far as up to that date, what the most significant compositions were for the wind band medium, and the piece that Paul Hindemith wrote in 1951 was far and away the most thought of as a sincere masterpiece. So it's incredibly difficult. Hindemith was a master. You can hear some sweeping lines that are reminiscent of some critics say of romantic music, but then there's extremely tight counterpoint from the Baroque era. But then this form of the piece is symphonic, so there's classical form there. So then the tonalities are actually 20th century. So he's got everything covered from 1600 to when he died. So I thank you all for coming tonight. Our next concert is December 6th, and we will be featuring, the theme is Titans, and we're going to play the entire Hindemith Symphony at that performance, but we're also going to have a very special guest. Dr. Christopher Hahn is going to play the Rhapsody in Blue original dance band version written for the Paul Whiteman Band in 1924. So people don't really think, they think, well, the United Airlines commercials, I think full orchestra. Well, that was not actually even written until after his death. So this is the way that George Gershwin originally intended the Rhapsody in Blue, so that will be on the program as well. And then a wonderful reduction of some of the movements from Karl Orff's Carmina Burana for double woodwind quintet. So that'll be our concert on December 6th. So we hope you join us, and thank you again for coming. We're closing with the first movement from Hindemith's Symphony in B-flat.